5 days after I was born. My biological mother threw me away. For reasons I still don't understand. She left me at the gates of the Blanco family estate. The women who found me looked down at the blanket, frowned, and one of them said, "Why don't we keep him?" That was how I ended up with 109 sisters. At home, I was the spoiled little king of the Blanco family. Keep from causing my sisters trouble. I lived quietly for more than 10 years. Everything stayed normal until high school. Giovanni Rosi cornered me in the bathroom with 3 of his lackies. He dumped freezing water over my head, tore my uniform, and snapped pictures while I stood there soaked and shivering. "What are you staring at?" Giovanni sneered. "You're just some poor scholarship kid acting proud. Like you belong here, trash. Like you will never get into college." They beat me too hard. Hard enough that something inside me snapped. I grabbed Giovanni and threw both of us off the 3rd floor landing. When I woke up in the nurse's office, the school nurse, Marcella Greco, was glaring at me. "All Giovanni did was beat you a little, and you tried to kill him," he shouted. "Instead of reflecting on yourself, you plotted revenge. Call your guardian right now. If no one comes today, you're not leaving." My scalp prickled. I asked weakly, "Are you sure you want to meet my guardians, Miss Greco?" The next second, a slap cracked across the room. "Yes, we're sure." Someone barked, "How dare you hurt my son? You little bastard. Get your family here and apologize." Giovanni's father, Antonio Rossi, had just hit me so hard I dropped to the floor. My cheek burned. Miss Greco acted like she hadn't seen a thing. She rushed to flatter him instead. "Mr. Rossi, don't worry. The school will handle this severely. There will be no leniency." She spun toward me and shouted, "Dante Bianco, look what you did to Giovanni. Call your guardians here now and have them pay his medical expenses." I lowered my head and dug my nails into my palms until I tasted blood. No, that's not what happened. Giovanni and his friends cornered me in the restroom. First he kicked me and burned me with cigarettes. "I only liar," Giovanni shouted from the bed. "I was just passing by when he went crazy and pushed me down the stairs. He's jealous because we're rich. He's hated me forever." "It was clearly you who shut up, Dante," Miss Greco snapped. "The facts are obvious. You attacked him on purpose." He dragged me out into the hall, yanked my phone from my pocket and smacked it against my face. "I don't want to hear excuses. Call your sisters. Tell them to come pay up." Everyone in the corridor turned to stare. I looked down at my contact list and couldn't make myself press a name. I had 109 sisters. Eldest, Sofia Bianco, was the Donna of the family. My 3rd sister, Alessia, ran arms routes. My 15th sister, Francesca, handled loans. My 78th sister, Victoria, ran underground casinos. They were always stuffing black bank cards into my pockets and ruffling my hair. "Don't go looking for trouble," they'd say. "But if trouble finds you, come to us. If anyone touches you," Sophia once told me, smiling gently, "I'll wipe out his whole family." "Tell me who it is," Alessia had added, "and I'll go at them with both blades." The problem was, every one of them was on Norberg's most wanted list. I remembered them coming home at dawn, smelling like blood, muttering about near misses with the cops. I thought of the news reports day after day, about criminals getting arrested. I couldn't drag them into this. I lifted my head and tried one last time. "Miss Greco, my sisters all work out of state. Far away. They really can't come. Can I write an apology letter? Take detention? Just please don't call them?" She gave a cold laugh. "No wonder you turned out like this. So shameless. If they can't come, then who's paying Giovanni's expenses? Stop stalling and call them." "How much?" I asked. I was ready to say I could pay myself. I never touched the black cards my sisters gave me. But Antonio Rossi stepped forward and tossed a bank card to Miss Greco. "There's 500,000 on that," he said, "a donation to the school. I'm not asking for much. Just have Dante's sisters come, apologize properly and settle this. Otherwise, I'll report him for assault. Once he has a record, he can forget college." Miss Greco's eyes lit up. "Did you hear that, Dante? Last chance, all your sisters. And have them come apologize, or you get a criminal record." Criminal record. The words pierced straight through me. I couldn't have one if I got arrested. I couldn't take my exams. I still had to get into college, make money, and take care of my sisters when they were old. Tears rose before I could stop them. With shaking fingers, I unlocked my phone. "Please don't call the police," I whispered. "I'll call my sister." I tapped the first name in my contacts, Sophia. She was the gentlest of them all. If anyone could pretend to be ordinary and smooth this over, it was her. The call connected instantly. "What's up, Dante?" Sophia's warm voice came through, smiling even over the phone. I swallowed. Sophia. Miss Greco wants you to come to school. To your school? She said, suddenly bright with excitement. You won another award, didn't you?
This is the first time.
You've asked me to pick up a certificate for you. Wait for me. I'm coming right now. My chest tightened.
No.
It's not. A gunshot cracked through the call. Then men shouting. Heavy thuds. A faint voice saying, clean this up. I froze. Childhood memories rushed back. Sophia coming home with blood on her clothes. Smiling and telling me it was ketchup. Is she hurt right now? Was she in danger? The truth on my tongue changed instantly. It's nothing, I blurted. I can pick it up myself. You keep doing whatever you're doing. I'm hanging up.
Hey.
Why are you hanging up? I'm not done. Miss Greco lunged for my phone. I twisted away and ended the call. A second later, another slap exploded across my face. You made this huge mess, and you're still hiding it from your family, he screamed. Antonio slammed a fist into the wall and jabbed a finger at me. Don't think you can dodge this. I run Norberg. I have ties in the police department. If my son says a word, your nobody family disappears. Giovanni limped over grinning. Your family is probably too poor to eat. So where'd you get the nerve to touch me? I lower my head. My sister really can't come. I'm sorry, Giovanni. I was wrong. I shouldn't have pushed you. I'll apologize in front of the whole school. I'll be your errand boy for a year. You can hit me back. Don't call the police, please. I don't want to be expelled. Giovanni laughed, but Antonio reached for my phone. Enough bargaining. Give me your sister's number. I'll call her myself. Hand him the phone. Miss Greco ordered. If you want to resolve this, stop being difficult. I backed away, clutching it so tightly my fingers hurt, and in desperation, I dropped to my knees. Pain shot up my legs as they hit the tile. Tears spilled down my face. I started slapping myself and begging. Please don't call my sister, Giovanni.
Please.
I'll apologize. I'll make it up to you. Hit me back if you want. Just don't call my sister, please. My face swelled. Blood ran from the corner of my mouth. At last, Giovanni smiled. Fine, he said loudly, but a public apology isn't enough. Tomorrow, in front of the whole school, you'll kneel and slap yourself until I'm satisfied. Do that, and I won't call the police. I clenched my fists and agreed. It was humiliating, but if it kept my sister safe, it was worth it. That evening, I dragged myself back to the apartment my second sister, Julia, rented for me. When I opened the door, my 66th, 79th, and 93rd sisters were in the kitchen. The moment they saw me, they lit up. Dante, you're back at dinner. Martina pinched my cheek with a grin. I heard you're getting an award. Why didn't you let us come by order? It should be my turn. Tiara immediately objected. No way, it's mine. Valentina pushed soup toward me. Drink, good for your brain. You need that college acceptance letter. I almost broke. Instead, I forced a smile. It's just a small award. I'll call you when it's a big one.
Fine.
First, they piled food into my bowl. Then Martina answered a call. And I caught a few words. That shipment got flagged again. Someone jumped in the river. Money is not easy to make. My heart tightened. I set down my fork. Can you stop doing that kind of work? I'm grown up now. I'll get into a good college and take care of all of you. Can't you find something steadier? All three of them froze. Then, incredibly, they teared up and hugged each other, deeply moved. 2 hours later, after lecturing me to study hard and sleep early, they left 3 black bank cards on the table and hurried out. I stood at the door, watching them go. Eyes hot. Remember to switch jobs. Okay, we know. As soon as the door shut, Martina looked at the others in confusion. That was weird. Do you think Dante doesn't like that I'm developing nuclear submarines? Kiera and Valentina looked just as puzzled. Inside, I checked the family group chat. One big, loving family. It had already gone past 99 unread messages. Dante, are you tired from studying? Do you need spending money? Don't be shy. We have plenty. My vision blurred. I typed back. I'm fine.
Don't worry about me.
I know you're all busy, but stay safe too. Then I made up my mind. I just had to endure this until the SATs were over. At Monday's flag-raising ceremony, I knelt on the stage before the entire school and confessed. I pushed Giovanni down the stairs because I resented him. I was jealous. I'm worthless. Every word scraped my throat raw. Giovanni sat in a wheelchair near the front looking delighted. The crowd buzzed below. I heard his family's broke.
He's on aid.
What a jealous loser. No wonder his mother abandoned him, right? I'd already gone numb when the speech ended. I started slapping myself.
Once.
10 by 50, 100. My cheeks went from stinging to burning to nothing at all. Blood ran down my lips. When it was over, I walked off the stage with my face swollen and red. The students around me partied like I was diseased. Giovanni rushed past me with his friends and said loudly, "Some people are born poor. You think one apology is enough? From now on, when you see me, call me sir." I said nothing. Back in class, I scrubbed at the red insults painted across my desk, but the marker had sunk into the wood. It only smeared more. By the time school ended, I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped out through the alley behind campus. Giovanni and his 3 lackeys were waiting. He stood up from the wheelchair, stretched casually, and walked toward me. "Didn't you say you'd be my errand boy? I haven't even gone home yet, and you're already sneaking off." "Sorry, I said you didn't call me. Whether I call you or not, follow me like a dog." He lifted his phone and pointed the camera at my face.
Say it.
"I'm a broke loser, and I forgot to be Mr. Giovanni's lapdog." I bit my lip and stayed still. That made him smile wider. He dumped icy water over me again, tore my soaked uniform again, and pressed cigarette butts against my face. Giovanni laughed while filming. Smile and say, "Thank you, Giovanni, for teaching me a lesson. Or should I call the police? And invite your precious sister down to the station?" My mind went white. Did he know? Did he really know what my sisters were? I couldn't risk it. Shaking, I repeated what he wanted. "Thank you, Giovanni, for teaching me a lesson." I said it over and over until he was satisfied. Then he kicked me. "If you'd behaved this well from the start, none of this would have happened. From now on, wait here for me every day after school. Whatever I say, you do." "Yes, sir," I said, left laughing with his friends. I was alone in the alley. After a while, I crouched and picked up my books from the dirty water. One math paper had a bright red 100 on it, soaked and trampled. When I looked up, 5 women were standing at the mouth of the alley. Sophia was in front. 4 more of my sisters stood behind her. Their faces were dark with fury. None of them spoke. The air turned cold. At last, Sophia crouched and wiped the blood from my face with rough, gentle fingers. Who did this? The alleyway was damp, smelling of old bricks, stagnant rain, and the faint, bitter tang of copper. Dante stood frozen, his breath coming in shallow, ragged gasps. The math paper, in his hand, the one with the bright red 100, was slowly turning to mush as the dirty puddle water soaked through the fibers. His uniform was torn at the collar, clinging to his chest like a cold shroud. On his cheek, the pale gray ash of Giovanni's cigarette had smeared into a dark bruise. Sophia didn't move. She stood at the mouth of the alley, the golden evening light silhouette lining her long trench coat. One behind her, 4 of his other sisters, Alessia, Francesca, Victoria, and Martina, stood like statues carved from
Ice.
The silence between them was heavier than any blow Antonio Rossi had landed. "Dante," Sophia said. Her voice was incredibly quiet. It was the tone she used when she was reading a book in the living room, telling him to turn down the television. "Come here." Dante's knees trembled. His first instinct was to hide his face, to turn away so they wouldn't see the swelling, the blood leaking from the corner of his lip, or the neat, circular burn marks on his collarbone. I just tripped Sophia," Dante whispered, his voice cracking. "The ground was wet. I was running to catch the bus, and Dante." Sophia stepped forward. Her leather boots didn't make a sound on the wet pavement. When she reached him, she didn't look at his clothes or the ruined paper. She reached out, her fingers, usually so warm, trembling slightly as she touched his chin. She gently tilted his head upward. The moment her thumb brushed against the swollen skin of his cheek, Dante
Winced.
Behind Sophia, Martina's knuckles popped with a sound like a pistol shot. Francesca's eyes narrowed into thin, lethal slits, while Victoria slowly reached into her pocket, her fingers wrapping around a heavy, dark metal device. "Who did this to you?" Sophia asked. Her voice didn't rise. It actually lowered, dropping into a register that made the hairs on the back of Dante's neck stand
Up.
"It's nobody really," Dante pleaded, tears finally leaking from his eyes, stinging the raw cuts on his skin. He grabbed Sophia's sleeve. "Please, Sophia, let's just go home. I don't want any trouble. They said if we make a scene, they'll call the police. They have connections. If the police look into us, they'll find out about what you guys do. I can't let them take
You.
Sophia stared at him. For a long, agonizing moment, she didn't say a word.
She
Looked at his shaking hands, his terrified eyes, and the desperate way he was trying to shield them from a world he thought would destroy them. You think? Sophia started, her voice catching in her throat. She looked back at the other 4 sisters. Martina let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Francesca covered her mouth, her eyes shining with sudden, furious tears. Oh, my sweet, stupid little brother, Victoria muttered, her hand coming out of her pocket to reveal not a weapon, but a highly encrypted military-grade communications tablet. Sophia turned back to Dante, her expression softening into something incredibly tender, yet underpinned by a terrifying, absolute resolve. She took her handkerchief from her pocket and gently dabbed the blood from his lip. Dante, she said softly, do you think we are hiding from the police? Aren't you? Dante asked, his voice small. You always come home smelling like
blood.
You talk about near misses with the authorities. Martina said. She was working on shipments that got flagged, and someone had to jump into a river. And Sophia, I heard gunshots on the phone when I called you. Sophia closed her eyes for a brief second. When she opened them, the warmth was there, but so was an iron-hard light. We will talk about our jobs later, Sophia whispered, kissing his forehead gently. For now, we're going to get you cleaned up. Martina, call the medical transport. Already on it, elder sister, Martina said. Her face, usually bright and cheerful, was completely blank. She was typing on a phone with fingers that moved like lightning. The private ward at St. Jude's is cleared. The chief of medicine is waiting at the door. Wait, Dante said, panicked. St. Jude's? That's the most expensive private hospital in the state. We can't afford that, and what if they ask for my ID?
The
school has my records, they'll know. Dante, Sophia interrupted, her hand resting firmly on his shoulder. Be quiet, and let your sisters handle this. For 10 years, you have lived quietly to protect us. Today, that ends. She turned toward the mouth of the alley as 3 sleek, pitch-black SUVs with tinted windows and official state diplomatic plates slid silently to a halt.
men
In pristine black suits stepped out, immediately opening the doors and bowing, their heads in absolute silence.
Dante's mean spoon.
This didn't look like a messy mafia gang. This looked like a state visit. Before he could process anything else, Sophia lifted him gently. He was light, too light, having skipped lunch for weeks to save money, and carried him into the back of the lead vehicle. Inside the armored SUV, the air conditioning hummed softly. Dante was wrapped in a cashmere blanket that smelled of lavender. Francesca sat next to him, gently applying a cooling gel to his burns, her hands steady, but her face pale with suppressed rage. Sophia sat opposite them. She unlocked her phone. Dante watched her screen from the corner of his eye. She opened the family group chat, the one named One Big Loving Family. Sophia didn't type a message. She simply uploaded 3 photographs.
1.
The first was a close-up of Dante's face, swollen, bruised, with the dry blood at the corner of his mouth. 2. The second was the circular cigarette burn on his shoulder. 3. The third was his math paper, trampled in the mud. Underneath the photos, Sophia typed a single sentence. Dante was forced to kneel and slap himself in front of his entire school today. This is what they did to him afterward. For 3 seconds, the chat was dead silent. Then the notification sound on Sophia's phone didn't just beep, it turned into a continuous, frantic vibration that threatened to overheat the device. Sister 2, Julia, I am canceling my flight to the UN summit. My plane is turning back now. Who did this? Sister 3, Alessia, my division is currently off the coast. I am ordering 3 tactical squads to redirect to Norberg.
Give
Me names. Sister 15, Francesca, the Rossi family. I am looking at their financial portfolio right now. They own a logistics firm, 3 commercial properties, and have a $5 million line of credit with the National Bank. In 5 minutes, they will have nothing. Sister 78, Victoria, the school nurse. Marcella Greco. Her husband runs an import-export business. It's a front for tax evasion. I've already forwarded the files to the federal prosecutor's desk. She will be in handcuffs before dinner. Sister 109, Lily, the youngest of the sisters, currently studying abroad. I'm buying a ticket back. I'll kill them. I swear to God I'll kill them. Dante's eyes widened as he read the names and the terrifyingly precise threats. Scrolling past at light speed. Sophia. Dante stammered, trying to sit up. What are you guys Talking about? UN summits? Tactical squads? Francesca, how do you have access to the National Bank's credit lines? Francesca stopped applying the gel. She looked at Dante, her eyes filled with an overwhelming mixture of guilt and love. Dante, she said softly, I don't do predatory loans. I am the chairperson of the State Financial Regulatory Commission. When I talk about loans and collecting interest, I'm talking about restructuring the national debt of foreign countries. Dante blinked. But Martina? She said she was dealing with a shipment that got flagged, and someone jumped in a river. Martina, sitting in the front passenger seat, turned around with a sheepish grin that didn't quite reach her cold eyes.
Oh, that.
We were testing our new deep-sea stealth nuclear submarine. The Maritime Border Patrol of a neighboring country flagged the sonar signature. One of their scout divers panicked and jumped overboard when our sub surfaced right next to his dinghy. It was a whole diplomatic mess, but we paid him off. Dante's jaw dropped. And the near misses with the police? The blood on your clothes? We take high-intensity tactical defense classes, so we can protect you, if anyone ever finds out who you are. Alessia's voice came through the car's speaker
System.
She had patched herself in from her military command post. The blood was usually gourmet sauce from the cooking school we built down the street.
We
Wanted to learn how to make your favorite beef stew, but none of us knew how to use a meat cleaver properly at first. Dante sat in stunned silence. The puzzle pieces of his entire childhood suddenly shattered and reassembled into a picture so massive, so absurdly grand, that his brain struggled to comprehend it. His 109 sisters weren't a ragtag group of fugitive criminals. They were the literal backbone of the nation's political, military, and financial elite. And me, Dante whispered. Why did you keep me? Why 109 sisters? Sophia reached out, taking his hand in hers. Because when our mother left you, at our gates, we were just a small, struggling family of sisters trying to find our way in the world. You were this tiny, beautiful baby boy who didn't cry when we held you. You smiled at us. We swore that day that we would build an empire, just to make sure you would never have to suffer a single day of hardship.
We
grew, we conquered our respective fields, and we became what we are today, all for you. Her eyes grew cold again as she looked out the window at the passing city.
lights.
But we failed. We let you think you had to protect us. We let you carry the weight of our names, thinking we were monsters, while real monsters tore you down. Sophia's phone buzzed. It was a message from Julia, the second sister. The Rossi family's primary creditor has just declared their loans in default. The police chief of Norberg has been suspended pending an internal affairs investigation into bribery. We are ready. Sophia looked at Dante. Tomorrow, Dante, you're going to school. And we are going with you. At Norberg High School, the atmosphere was thick with tension, though the students didn't quite know why. In the administrative wing, Principal Joseph Vance was pacing his office, sweating profusely. His phone had been ringing off the hook since 6 a.m. Every single major donor to the school's endowment fund had pulled their funding within a span of 10 minutes. Even worse, the school's board of trustees had just received an emergency notice that the land the school was built on, originally leased from a private holding company, had been purchased by an anonymous buyer who was threatening to evict the school immediately for building code violations. In the corner of the office sat Antonio Rossi, his face pale and his hands shaking as he stared at his tablet. It's a glitch, Antonio muttered, his voice cracking. It has to be a glitch. My logistics company, our shipping licenses were revoked this morning by the Department of Transportation. They cited national security concerns. What does a local shipping company have to do with national security? Giovanni sat in a chair next to him, his legs no longer needing the wheelchair he had used for his dramatic show the day before. He looked nervous.
Dad.
What's going on? Where is Dante? He was supposed to be at the gate at 7:32. Carry my bags. Shut up, Giovanni. Antonio snapped, his temper fraying. I'm trying to figure out why our bank accounts are frozen. Marcella Greco, the school nurse, stood by the window, her expression smug but slightly anxious. Don't worry, Mr. Rossi. Once that trash Dante Bianco gets here, we'll make him sign the confession and the liability waiver. That will protect Giovanni from any legal fallout. And with your donation to the school, the board will overlook the funding issues. Just as she spoke, the door to the principal's office was pushed open. But it wasn't Dante who walked in. It was a man in a crisp military uniform, his chest adorned with medals that caught the fluorescent light of the office. Behind him stood two soldiers, carrying sidearms. "Principal Vance?" the officer asked, his voice like iron. Vance stood up, his voice trembling. "Why, yes.
Who are you?
This is a private high school. You can't just—" "I am Colonel Vance, no relation," the officer said coldly. "By order of the Ministry of Defense, this facility is currently under temporary administrative oversight. You are to remain in this room." Before anyone could protest, the sound of heavy engines filled the air outside. Giovanni ran to the window, his eyes widening in sheer, unadulterated terror. The school's massive gravel parking lot, usually filled with the luxury cars of wealthy students, was being systematically cleared. Blacked-out military transport trucks, armored executive limousines, and sleek, high-end sports cars were rolling over the manicured lawns, parking in a perfect, intimidating semicircle around the main building. From the lead limousine stepped Sofia Blanco. She wore a tailored white suit that contrasted sharply with the dark colors of her entourage. Behind her stepped out Julia, the second sister, wearing her diplomatic pin, Alessia, in full naval dress, Francesca, carrying a leather briefcase, and at least 30 other sisters, each representing the pinnacle of their respective industries. And in the middle of them, wearing a brand new, perfectly tailored school uniform, was Dante. His bruises were covered by light medical tape, but his head was held high. For the first time in 10 years, he didn't look like a scared scholarship kid. He looked like a prince surrounded by his royal guard. The school's main auditorium was packed. The principal had been forced to call an emergency assembly of the entire student body and faculty. The atmosphere was electric with confusion and fear. On the stage stood a single microphone. To the left of the stage sat Giovanni Rosi, Antonio Rossi, and Marcella Greco, guarded by two silent, armed military personnel. They looked like prisoners awaiting trial, their previous arrogance completely stripped away. Antonio's phone was still buzzing with alerts of his company's complete liquidation. The double doors at the back of the auditorium swung open. Dante walked down the center aisle. He wasn't alone. Walking steps behind him were his sisters, not all 109, as the auditorium couldn't hold them all, but the 50 eldest, their presence so overwhelming that the murmuring students immediately fell into a dead, terrified silence. Dante walked up the steps to the stage. He stood before the microphone. He looked down at Giovanni, who was trembling so hard his teeth were chattering. "Yesterday," Dante said, his voice echoing clearly through the high-end sound system, "I stood on this stage and told you I was a liar, a thief, and a jealous loser. I told you I pushed Giovanni because I hated him for being rich." He paused, looking at the faces of his classmates, the ones who had laughed, the ones who had smeared red paint on his desk. "I lied," Dante said quietly. "I did it because I wanted to protect my family.
I
Thought my sisters were criminals. I thought if I fought back, the police would take them away from me." He looked back at Sofia, who gave him a small, encouraging nod. "But I was wrong," Dante continued, a faint, genuine smile touching his lips. "My sisters aren't criminals. They are the law." Francesca stepped forward, taking a document from her briefcase and handing it to the military officer on stage, who projected it onto the massive presentation screen behind Dante. It was a comprehensive financial ledger, detailed with dates, names, and transaction IDs. "This is the financial history of the Rossi logistics firm," Francesca's voice rang out, cool and professional. "Over the past 5 years, Mr. Antonio Rossi has systematically embezzled funds from his employees' pension plans, laundered money for offshore shell companies, and paid bribes totaling $300,000 to various local officials, including the principal of this school, Joseph Vance, and the school nurse, Marcella Greco." A collective gasp sucked the air out of the room. Principal Vance collapsed into his chair, his face gray. Marcella Greco began to weep openly, reaching out to clutch Antonio's sleeve, but Antonio pushed her away, his eyes fixed on the screen in absolute horror. "As of 8 a.m. today," Francesca continued, "all assets belonging to the Rossi family have been seized by the state. The school's charter has been revoked, and the land has been purchased by the Blanco Group. Effective immediately, Norberg High School is under new management." Julia, the second sister, stepped up to the microphone. She looked at the
students.
"To those of you who stood by and watched our brother be tormented, who laughed at his pain, and who participated in his humiliation. Your parents' companies, your family trusts, and your future prospects are currently being reviewed.
The
Blanco Group does not tolerate those who prey on the weak. The silence in the auditorium was absolute. Several students near the front row began to cry quietly, realizing the colossal mistake they had made by associating with Giovanni. Sophia walked up to the stage, standing right next to Dante. She looked down at Giovanni, her eyes devoid of any warmth. "Giovanni Rosi," Sophia said. "You made our brother kneel and slap himself." Giovanni looked up, his face pale as paper.
I'm
sorry. I didn't know. Please. You don't need to apologize to us," Sophia said coldly. "You will apologize to the law." She nodded to the officers. Within seconds, handcuffs were slapped onto Antonio Rossi, Marcella Greco, and Principal Vance. Giovanni was led out beside them, sobbing hysterically as his dreams of college, wealth, and status vanished into the cold morning air. 2 weeks later, the air in the Blanco family villa was warm and sweet with a smell of roasting meat. Dante sat in the garden, a heavy textbook open on his lap. The medical tape had been removed from his face, leaving only faint, healing pink lines that would soon fade completely. The garden was filled with laughter. Several of his younger sisters were running through the grass, playing a chaotic game of tag, while the older sisters sat around the large patio table, drinking tea and arguing over state budgets, naval deployments, and what to make for Dante's graduation dinner. "Dante." Lily ran up to him, dropping a massive bowl of fresh strawberries into his lap.
Eat.
"Martina said you need more vitamin C for your brain." "I'm fine, Lily, really," Dante laughed, picking up a strawberry. "I'm just studying for the SATs." "You don't even need to take those," Julia said, walking over with a tray of iced tea. "I spoke with the dean of Harvard yesterday. He said they've already cleared a presidential scholarship for you.
But if you want to take the test,
Just to show off, we can arrange for the entire testing center to be cleared so you don't have to sit near anyone annoying." No, Dante said quickly, waving his hands in a panic. "Please, let me just take it like a normal person. I like being normal." Sophia joined them, sitting on the edge of Dante's lounger. She reached out, gently ruffling his hair, the same way she had done when he was a little boy, back when they lived in a cramped apartment and ate instant noodles. "We can let you be normal, Dante," Sophia said, her eyes shining with absolute affection. "But only if you promise to remember one thing." "What's that?" Dante asked. "You have 109 sisters," Sophia whispered, pulling him into a warm, protective embrace. "No matter how big the world is, and no matter how many troubles find you will never, ever have to stand alone again." Dante buried his face in her shoulder, the last remnants of his fear, his guilt, and his loneliness melting away into the warm afternoon sun. He was indeed the spoiled little king of the Blanco family, and his empire was infinite.